The desire, the expectations, and the dream of every young lady at marriageable age is to end up with the right partner. But while making the decision of choosing the right man for yourself, I'll be sharing with you 9 things that you will see in a man and you will know that that man is not for you. Number one, be mindful of a chronic cheater, a man who lives a promiscuous life, a man that one woman is not enough for him, a man, even while in a relationship with him, he also cheats. Such a man is not good for marriage. Such a man is not even good for relationship. Never you marry such a man who lives a promiscuous life, a man who cheats at any available opportunity that he gets. Such a man should be avoided for marriage. Number two, be mindful of a man who is hot-tempered, a man who flares up at any slightest provocation, at any little provocation. Any moment you do something wrong, he will just flare up for nothing. Be mindful of a man who is hot-tempered. Because if you go on to marry such a man, the result will be domestic violence. And I know as a lady, you will not want such for yourself. That is why you should not go on to marry a man who is hot-tempered, who flares up at any slightest provocation. Avoid such a man for marriage. A lot of ladies who ignore such signs in their relationship and went on to marry such a man ended up in a domestic violence. And unfortunately for some of them, it was not just about the domestic violence. Unfortunately for them, they ended up 6 feet below. That is why you should avoid any man who has temper issue, a man who cannot control his anger. Avoid such a man for marriage. Number 3 points that you must consider to know that the man coming for your hand in marriage is not the right man is that be mindful of a man who lives above his income, above his means, and who lies about his income. Because definitely a man who lives above his income will lie about it just to cover up. So never you marry a man that lives above his income. Once you notice that, that is a big red flag for you to know that such a man is not good for marriage, because such a man will only be a debtor. Such a man is also a lazy man who will not want to do something for himself and live a responsible life and find something worthy doing with his hands. That is why you should avoid any man who lives above his income, his means. Avoid such a man for marriage. The fourth thing that I want you to know, avoid a lazy man. Any man that is lazy, avoid him. He is not rich, he is poor, is not the case. He can be poor but hardworking. But for the fact that he is lazy and he is not willing to work, avoid such a man. A man who has no vision for his life, who has no purpose for his life, avoid such a man. Avoid a man who is going nowhere. Because if you are someone that have a vision and you are going somewhere, such a man will make your own vision not to come to light. Such a man will make your own vision not to come to reality. Never you marry a man who has no vision, who has no direction in life, who has no purpose. The responsibility of a man to his family, to his wife and children, is to provide leadership and direction where the family should be going, which is a positive direction with meaningful purpose and vision in life. But the moment you see that a man lacks such quality of leadership and direction, vision, purpose, he doesn't have any, and he is not willing to stand up to the occasion to be a man, leave such a man. Avoid a lazy man for marriage. Never you marry a lazy man who is not even willing to change. Number 5, avoid a man who is a fault finder and a perfectionist. He always finds fault and thinks that he is perfect in all his ways. Avoid such a man. Do you know why you should avoid a man who is a fault finder? Because all your life, all you'll be doing is just to please him. And at the end of the day, no matter what you do, you cannot please him. That is the honest truth. And when you cannot please such a man, you know what comes next. Such a man will cheat. Such a man who sees fault in everything you do will seek to look for another woman whom he thinks can be able to do all those things that he feels that you are not getting right. And avoid a perfectionist. A man who thinks that he is a perfectionist. No matter everything you do is never perfect. Everything you do is never appealing in his eyes. Everything you do is always wrong. Avoid such a man. A man who always finds fault in everything you do. A perfectionist. He is always perfect. Such a man cannot even admit his mistake if he does one. Such a man will be full of himself. Such a man will be a proud man because he sees himself as a perfectionist. That means all that he will do in his life is perfect. That means he sees himself as above mistake. Even when he is wrong and you are telling him that he is wrong, he can never admit it. Such a man can never admit he is wrong. He will be full of himself. So that is why you should avoid such a man. To avoid any headache, any issue that comes with marriage. Number 6 point. Never you marry a man who cannot take responsibility of his life. Even in marriage, he will leave all the responsibilities for you. You'll be the one catering for the family. Instead of him being the breadwinner of the family, you will be the breadwinner of the family. You will be the wife, you will be the husband. You will be a mother and you will be the father to your children. He can never be anything good because he is a man who cannot take responsibility of his life. If he cannot take responsibility of his own life, he cannot be able to take responsibility of another. That is why he cannot be a husband. He cannot be a father. Because he has to be a husband to you first, and when children start coming, then he will be a father. But if a man cannot take responsibility of his own life, how can he then take responsibility of another? If you end up marrying a man who cannot take responsibility of his own life, every family responsibilities will be on your shoulder. You'll be the one caring, catering all the family responsibilities. Such a man will leave everything to you. That is why you must do yourself good to avoid a man who cannot take responsibility of his life. The seventh point that you will see and know that he is not the right man for you is never you marry a man who is not transparent to you. A man who is secretive, never you marry such a man. A man who you cannot figure anything about his life or what is going on in his life. You cannot fully tell anything about him, and he is not ready to open up to you for you to understand him as someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Never you marry such a man. He is not open to you with his income, with what he do for a living. Avoid such a man. Relationship, marriage is all about transparency. For any marriage to be a successful marriage, there should be no secrecy. There should be transparency. There should be openness for any marriage to be a success at the end of the day. So therefore, avoid any man who is not transparent of himself, of what he does for a living, about his family, about his past life, his past relationship, about everything that has to do with him. Number 8 point. Never you marry a man who disrespects you and who thinks that your opinion does not count. Never you try to marry such a man, because if you marry a man who disrespects you, that person can never see anything good from you. Such a man can never value you. And when you marry such a man who thinks that your opinion does not count, while making decisions, he can never involve you in his decisions. You can never be part of the things he is doing. He will always feel that coming to you to take advice is useless, is worthless. He will always think that you have nothing to offer. And that will be his ideology, and that will be his mentality. And such a man will not regard you. Such a man will not respect you. Such a man will not value you. That is why never you marry a man who disrespects you and also think that your opinion doesn't count in his life. Never you make such a mistake. The last point, which is the 9th point, I want you to know. Never you marry a man who sees you as an option. A man who sees you as an option can easily replace you. A man who sees you as an option, you will mean nothing to him. He will always go outside to flirt with every other woman outside there. And I know you wouldn't want to experience such in your marriage. And I know you wouldn't want to end up with such a man who you are just an option in his life. Never you marry a man who thinks that you are just an option. Marry a man who sees you, who values you, who knows, not just few, who knows that you are everything to him. A man who cannot do without you. That is the type of a man to marry. But the man who thinks that you are an option to him, run away from such a man.
Please like, share, and subscribe.